Well, good morning guys, I hope you're all doing well. So look what I've found. I came for a walk in the fells, which is behind the house, which is where I live in the village. And I found this waterfall a few months back in the summer. And it's taken me ages to find it today because I couldn't remember where the heck it was. But I've eventually walked up the riverbed there and actually found it. Not too sure what to do with it yet, as you can see, all that's behind it is sky. And I don't really like that, to be honest, because it's not going to add anything to the frame. So I'll have to play around with it and see what I can come up with, but it might be a case of trying more intimate shots and maybe letterboxing it to cut the sky part out. But we'll play around with it and see what we can find. I might try something down in the foreground here and use this little fall in the foreground as interest and see what I can get out of it that way. And if that doesn't work, I'll move closer in to the actual main fall itself and get some sort of detail shots. So yeah, from this position, I think because of that sky up the top, as I was saying, I think what I'm going to have to do is tilt the camera down so it's facing these small falls in the foreground here. And I think I'm going to have to crop it. Instead of being like a letterbox from this sort of angle anyway, it's probably going to be either a square crop or a 4x5, something like that. Because there's just a bit too much water down in the front here of the scene. So what I'll have to do is crop it further in so that you've got more of this smaller falls in the actual foreground of the image. But I think it'll work, just a matter of playing around with it. I'm using a polarizer just to cut down the glare on the actual water in the foreground as well, and that's helping. Because there's a lot of sky up there, there's a load of glare on the water down here. So that's really helping neutralise that anyway. So at the minute I'm at f8, a fifth of a second at ISO 50. And I'm quite liking the fact that because I'm quite close to this falls in the front here, it's softening right to the background. But what I might do is I'm gonna take a couple of focus stacked images as well, just so that I've got them, purely because I've got them, because I don't know what I prefer until I get it back on the computer and see what it's like on the screen. I want to take everything I can just so that I can cover myself. It's alright saying that I like that soft looking out in the field, but if I get back and think, nah, it doesn't really look right, if I don't actually take those images, I've lost them. So I'll take them anyway and see what they turn out like. And if there's a vast difference, I'll pop them up on the screen and we can compare them both. So those last couple of shots I really quite like. I'm not too sure if, because I'm cutting the sky right out of the scene, whether it's going to actually compress the scene and make it look too claustrophobic, too tight. I'll only really know that when I get it back on the computer screen and see what it looks like. But it's really the best I can do with the situation, because the sky, it just doesn't look right to me in the scene anyway.
So as you can see, I went for the square crop with this first image. And although I've eliminated the sky at the top and the water at the bottom, I still don't feel this is a really strong image, and the reason for that is because of what's going on the left and right hand sides of the image. I don't think there's enough going on, and I think the actual waterfall and the small falls in the foreground are too central in the scene. So for me this one really didn't work, so that's why I've moved on and found a different composition.
Yeah, so I've got the same sort of problems here really. I've moved closer into the scene because I want to try getting further in just to see what that looks like. The thing I don't like about it though is I've got these branches coming in from the left and they're kind of right into almost into the middle of the scene. So what I'm going to have to do is play around and see if I can move the camera over to the right somehow and kind of get further away from those branches. It might be a case that if I can't do that, I might have to just sort of darken those branches down in post so the eye's not so easily drawn to them. But I'll move around and see what I can make of it for the time being, but that's always an option. So looking at it, the other option I've got is to go vertical orientation, and what I'll try and do is this little falls in the foreground here, is I'll push right up close to it and see if I can eliminate more of this branch on the left hand side by getting myself further into the scene, closer to these falls, and making it more compressed and more compact. So yeah, for me now, the position that I've got myself into here looks so much better on the back of the screen. The composition looks a lot more balanced. There's not one thing more on to the left or the right. It's nice and balanced as far as I can tell. And it's looking a whole load better. Just goes to show that just moving positions and experimenting with moving back from the scene, moving into the scene, moving lower, just changing yourself around and not rushing the scene, working it as best you can, will always produce the better image. I'm so much happier with this one than I am with any of the rest. Not to say that they're bad images, but just to me, this just works so much better. So as you can see, now I've got this little falls more in the foreground here. That branch is eliminated more from the left-hand side. So I've got nothing distracting anymore. So this fall's just leading the eye right into the back of the scene there, and I think that works so much better. You've almost got a little S-curve in there. And this little bit of grass just adds a little bit of interest on the right-hand side to balance it up slightly. So much happier with this image. Before I finish, I'm going to grab a couple of detail shots of the waterfall. Well, thanks so much for coming on this little adventure with me again this week, guys. Hope to see you again soon. Take care. Bye-bye.